might hear me on the radio. Breaker 19, anybody got their ears?
Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms. Well, it's been about a year since Hurricane Helene tore through western North Carolina, causing significant damage to the areas around where I live, work, and play. I made a series of videos during and directly after the hurricane talking about some of the things that I had done here on my little homestead to prepare for things like this and how well they had worked, or in many cases didn't work. The videos seemed to resonate well with people, so I figured at the 1 year mark I would revisit some of this stuff and talk to you about some of the changes that I've made since then. And a lot has changed. First up, I want to talk to you about the radios that I have. Three of the four that I use on a mostly daily basis here have not changed. I have a wonderful ICOM 7300, and I've just been made aware they came out with a version 2 of that. I'm sure it'll be just as awesome. That radio continues to be a mainstay here. I use a Striker 955, which has been modified for CB bands, and that radio has also not been changed. Over here, I have a Midland GMRS. It's a 40-watt GMRS that I use. That radio has also not been changed, and also I don't ever hear anything on it except for sometimes I hear skiers in the wintertime talking on the FRS channels. Lastly, we do have a change, and that is the analog Radio Shack radio that I was using as a scanner, which was the most valuable piece of equipment I think I had during the storm as far as communication goes, has been replaced. I upgraded it to a Uniden Bearcat Trunk Tracker 5 BCD 996P2. This is a digital scanner. It is not an inexpensive piece of equipment, but I'll tell you what, this was a good investment as far as I'm concerned for me. Maybe not for everyone, but for me it was. The biggest upgrade there is that all of the digital encrypted conversations that go on between police, fire, EMS, jail, stuff like that, all that stuff is now accessible. Now, setting that thing up, and I'll make a separate video on that because, wow, what a process. It requires a lot more than just entering in a code and perhaps a tone to get it to work. What I found was the easiest was to go on to radioreference.com, pay the $20 for like a 90-day access, and you can directly download the stuff in all the areas around me. So I have every county around me and then one extra county around that I have inputted into this thing. And so it just scans, and I have that hooked up to a tram. I think it's a 1422 or 1499 scanner antenna disco array. And it works pretty darn well, I gotta say. Now, I don't pick up everything as far as in the areas that I'm looking for, because sometimes range is just a factor. But if it's being said and it's within range, this is able to decrypt it and to track it. So I'm able to hold both sides of that conversation here. So that has been a huge upgrade that has occurred here on the farm in the past year, I'd say, as far as radios go. What other changes have I made? If you remember, I had some failures with solar equipment. Some of the solar power packs that I had, the slow charging was a big issue, right? They had the ability to recharge, but if I hooked it up to a panels, you know, it was maxed out at like 200 watts. And if I ran my generator and hooked up the 120 power to it, it was also maxed out at 200 watts. And that meant many hours of running a generator or, you know, having it powered up. And it just wasn't economically feasible or wise to have a gas engine running all that time. So I replaced all of those with fast charge units. And so if I'm going to recommend you purchase a solar power pack, and I do, I mean, if you watch any of my videos, I'm a big fan of solar, then I would say you should definitely look for something that has these two features: pass-through and fast charge. Those two things are critical. So the solar pack that runs my deep freezer, which is separate, it's away from our main solar array, it's in the garage there. It's a 1400 watt unit, and it can charge. We have 600 watts of panels on the roof of the garage, and it charges those 600 watts, and it also is able to power at the exact same time. Because of that setup there, I basically never had to recharge that unit. It just went. And even on cloudy days, it was still putting, I think, 280 to 300 watts out of the 600 watt panel. And the refrigerator only runs about 60 to 120 watts, or the deep freezer. So that was a great investment. So again, if you're going to purchase one of those things, look for fast charging capabilities and pass through. Because the other one, so we had one that powered up here, And it only has 400 watts of solar up here so far. We're adding more this year. But sometimes I would have to fast charge that one off of a generator, and it worked just fine. It actually worked really well. The main solar array, nothing changed, right? I bought extra paneling. I have another 2,000 watts of solar, but so far I have not installed that, mostly due to time, honestly, but in the other senses that it worked. It worked beautifully. So if you're thinking about adding off-grid or, I hate to use the word prepper or survivalist level power setups, solar is going to be definitely better than a gas generator or a diesel generator or a natural gas or propane generator. Any kind of fuel-powered generator is great for a short-term event. You lose power for the afternoon or overnight or a weekend. But when you're talking about 8-9 days, solar is just so much better. So there's something there for y'all to think about. Beyond that, changes on the property. I bought something called a ram pump, and I'm going to make a video on this. And it's a water-powered water pump. It's a really cool idea. They've been around for a good long time. Here's a picture of what one looks like. And you can see, it's a pretty simplistic design. You can build these yourself. I opted just to buy one off of a guy on eBay. It was easier to buy it from him than to take the time and the whole weekend to get all this stuff together and then glue it all together and figure it all out. But this is cool. You got to waste water, but that's fine. My spring is constantly producing excessive amounts of water, but you could pump that up to a higher location with this ram pump using no electricity, and it's endless. I mean, once it gets going, it just goes. So that's a really cool feature that I came across. As far as cooking, our house has a gas range. We also have a gas grill. The amount of fuel that a gas range or a gas grill is going to consume, it's going to last months, many months. So that's not going to be an issue. And heat here at our house, if you're looking to survive something that happens, say, over the winter, a wood-burning stove is a really great option if you have the ability to have that. If not, a gas furnace that does not require electricity to operate, which is a bit of a rarity. I use one of these in our house as supplemental heat. Here's a picture of it, but it's called the radiant heater. It has no fan. It just operates. It starts with a piezoelectric to get the gas going. It is temperature controlled, roughly, and it works just pretty good. What I would want to avoid would be electric heat or gas heat that needs the blower operating in order to force that air around your house, forced air heating. So those would be things. Things I'm going to change with my setup is I'm still looking to add the extra 2,000 watts of solar so that I can power both my well pump, or in my case, my spring box pump. And I want to be able to operate the microwave occasionally just to speed up the process. It's going to use a lot less in money if I can run a microwave for 60 seconds than if I have to cook on the grill for 60 minutes, which I'm not going to be doing that, but 5 minutes at a time, it adds up. So yeah, that's the big takeaways from Hurricane Helene. Things that I did like that I wouldn't change is a lot of the setup that I had. I don't know if I did it right on purpose or if I accidentally did it right, but I will say that it has been a real treat to have survived that disaster and kind of come away with it knowing that some of the money and a lot of the time that I invested in having a small solar array and having some solar panels in various locations on things like the studio and things like the garage really did pay off. Were they investments? Yes. Did they pay off? Yeah, they really did. Those solar power packs come in a variety of sizes, and they were very, very helpful to move from here to there when you needed power in a certain place. Needed to have power in the bedroom to turn the lights on or whatever, and you didn't want to backfeed the entire house. You'd bring a solar panel, solar power box in there, power up stuff, and then recharge it the next morning. It's really nice. So in part 2 of this video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things you should consider radio-wise. Like, we're going to get a little deeper into each one of these subjects. This is just like the hello video. I'm going to talk about radios, and in this case, I'm going to be talking just about like AM, FM, and shortwave. We won't be talking about two-way radio gear. I think you all are pretty well up to, if you're watching my channel, and if not, you can go back and revisit the first one there. And I might make a follow-up video on scanners, CBs, and ham, and what their purpose is in natural disaster. And then after that, we'll get back into power systems again, and I'll go more in depth and show off some of the stuff that I used, some of the recommendations that I have. And then finally, we'll take a look at the most important and most often forgotten part of the equation, and that is water. I picked the property that I live here now because it had an abundant supply of free-flowing, clean water. If I had a well that was at 400 or 500 foot of depth, I would not have had access to a single drop of water for 9 days. That is a big deal. So when you're going to find a place to live, it's something you want to look for. Clearly, not everyone's going to get up and move based on these kind of problems. So we'll talk about options you have for storing enough water to survive, let's say a week. Let's not go crazy, but I'll do that as well. I guess that'll do it for today, my friends. Hope you are doing well here in October of 2025. The year is almost over. It's kind of wild. And I'll see you next time. Take care.